So before I finish the next grouping, do you remember if you have two fractions just equaling each other? So I have a over b equals c over d. They're proportions. And how we solve them is we cross multiply. So that would equal a times d equals b times c. So 1/3 plus x, 1/3 equals x over 4. We would just cross and we would get 3x equals 4 times 1, and then divide, and we get x is equal to 4/3. So we're doing proportions for this next grouping. We're not going to divide it out the same way unless it's just a real number, but sometimes they'll be linear, sometimes they'll be quadratic. So for the first one, I'm going to do 4 times 10 is 40 equals 5 times p. So 40 is equal to 5p. Divide out the 5, and we get 8 is equal to p. So we don't really have to think about the least common denominator when we have these proportions. We just have to cross multiply. So number 6, I'm going to do y times y minus 4, which is y squared minus 4y, is equal to 2 times 16, which is equal to 32. So this time I have a quadratic. I need to set it equal to 0 and factor it. So I'm going to subtract 32. And then that would factor to y minus 8 times y plus 4. And this solution, when you set it equal to 0, we get y equals 8. And when we set that equal to 0, we get y is equal to a negative 4. And they're both fine because the only thing on the bottom is just a y. So as long as we didn't get 0 as a solution, then those both work. Here again, cross multiplying. 4 times a plus 3 would give me 4a plus 12. And a times 5a gives me 5a squared. So again, I have a square term here, so I need to set it equal to 0. I'm going to subtract 4a and 12 from both sides. And I get 5a squared minus 4a minus 12. And I have to figure out what combination works. So I'm going to put this aside for a second. And we're looking at 5a squared minus 4a minus 12. So 5 is just 5 and 1. And then we have the negative 12. And ultimately we need it to combine to a negative 4. So let's start with 4 and 3. And if that doesn't work, we'll try 6 and 2. And if that doesn't work, we'll try 12 and 1. If none of them work, then we have a problem. We'll have to use a quadratic formula, which we haven't really looked at yet. So if I go straight across, I would get 20. And remember, one of these is negative. I'll just put the negative there. We might have to move it. But 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. And then 1 times 3 is 3. Those combine to be 17, negative 17. But we need it to combine for negative 4, so that doesn't work. If I go in the other directions, 5 times 3 is 15. 1 times negative 4 is 4. 15 minus 4 is 11. So that doesn't work either. Even if I switch the signs, that's not going to work. So I'm going to go down to this one. I'm going to do 5 times 2, which is 10. And 1 times 6 is 6. So let me write it this way, because I want the 10 and 6. I want it to be a negative 4, so I'm going to put the negative in front of the 2. So if I do 1 times 6 and 5 times negative 2, that would give me 6 and negative 10, and those two add up to a negative 4, which is what I need for my middle term. So when I go back to my sheet, I want to make sure that I plug it in right. So if I have the 1a and 5a, that 1 I need to be multiplied by positive 6. And the 5, I wanted that multiplied by negative 2. So I know that I plugged stuff in the right way. Okay. So I have to finish this out. And a minus 2 equals 0. And 5a plus 6 equals 0. Here I just have to add 2 to both sides. So I get a is equal to 2. Here, first I have to subtract 6. So I get 5a is negative 6. And then divide by 5. So negative 6/5. So 2 and negative 6/5. And again, they're both fine because when you plug them back in here, you won't get a 0 on the bottom. And then the last one. So we cross multiply. I get 4w plus 12. And then 7 times w minus 3 gives me 7w minus 21. I'm going to add 21 to both sides and subtract 4w. So that's gone and that's gone. So I get 33 is equal to 3w. Divide by 3. And 11 is equal to w. And again, those are fine. So both of those work for here, and 11 works for this final one.